Eso lo que ellos en caso de Good morning, everyone, and welcome to all of our guests who are members who are joining us online. This morning in the council chambers, we have Councillor Curtis Brandt, Councillor Aaron Ferranti, Chief Ardal Miracle, Councillor Christopher Miracle, Councillor Linda Levine is on her way. We have Councillor Ogwari Brandt present, and Councillor Chris Brandt is sick today, so he will not be in attendance. We also have Angela Miracle, the Director of Operations. We have Sherry Miracle, the Chief Administrative Officer, and we have Shelley Grant, the Recording Secretary of the Council. Shelley Bowman. Okay, so we will now call our meeting to order. We have an agenda before you on March 18th, date March 18th. The first order of business will be to review and adopt the agenda. Then the council will review the minutes of March the 4th for approval. Any business arising from the minutes will be discussed. There will be an update on any meetings outside of the territory for the chief and council. The Ganyonki Festival Board had a surplus of in their funds, which will be donated to the long-term care bank. We just need a motion to accept that. The amount was $962.83. There is business registration for Carbon's Concepts, an invitation to view Bellevue House, the film industry, a memo concerning development of the film industry in this area. There's a harvesting letter request. The Tyendinaga Tourism and Visitor Center, there's a memo concerning that. The 2024-25 Tobacco Agreement Council will need to pass a motion regarding which offer you're going to accept, one to regulate, one not to regulate. There's a lower quota if you don't regulate it, but if you regulate it, then you're responsible for the policing of the tobacco to ensure that none is sold to non-status. So then there's new tobacco quotas. The tobacco vendors list will be here for council's approval. There's a request for a right-of-way agreement to be approved. There are finance, there's Alan Pratt invoices to be approved and paid. Andrea St. Bernard lawyer invoice to be approved and paid. The audit plan and checklist will have to be approved by council. There's a Bank of Montreal mortgage loan program report just to be acknowledged. There's ISC amendments 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56 will have to be approved. There's an item on ISO, the Save on Energy. There's funding there available to, I think it's to hire a staff person. There's Section 95, Phase 10, Tiny Homes, ISO Education Capacity Building Funding Agreements, the ISO Indigenous Energy Program Funding Agreement, then the private agenda. So the first order of business will be to review and adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Moved by Ogwari.
I'll second.
And second by Aaron. Is there anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Just remember to put your mic up to your mouth when you're speaking, otherwise they won't be able to hear you. The next order of business is the council minutes of March the 4th, 2024. Present were myself, Ogwari, Chris Brandt, Curtis, Aaron, Linda, and Chris Miracle. Staff present were Sherry Miracle, Angela Miracle, Shelley Bowden, and Amity Miracle, my assistant. It was moved by Aaron and seconded by Ogwari to adopt the agenda. The motion was carried. Motion 2 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Chris Brandt that the council minutes of February the 21st, 2024 be approved. The motion was carried. Motion 3 was moved by Ogwari and seconded by Aaron that the council minutes, local council minutes of February the 28th be approved. The motion was carried. Motion 4 was moved by Curtis and seconded by Aaron that to approve the following meetings outside the territory. Ogwari will be attending the Indigenous Services Canada meeting on emergency management on March the 14th in Toronto. Motion was carried. Motion 5 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Linda to approve the participation of the Bay of Quinte Remedial Action Plan Fish Consumption Working Group Community Survey. The motion was carried. Motion 6 was moved by Chris Brandt and seconded by Curtis to approve obtaining a consultant to complete a full legal feasibility review for adopting a national building code as the prevailing requirement for building construction on Tyendinaga. That motion was carried. Motion 7 was moved by Aguirre and seconded by Curtis to approve signing the customer service contract from Hydro One Networks Inc. for the connection of the MBQ Elder Care Home. The motion was carried. Council meetings were scheduled March 13th, local business, March the 20th, regular council business, March the 27th, local business, April 3rd, regular council business, April 10th, local business, April 16th, regular council business, April 23rd, local business. Moved by Aaron, second by Aguirre to reschedule the March 20th regular council meeting to March 18th at 9:30 a.m. Motion was carried. It was moved by Aguirre and second by Aaron to reschedule the March 27th local business meeting to March 26th at 9:30 a.m. Motion 10 was moved by Aaron and second by Linda to reschedule the April 3rd regular council meeting to April 5th at 9:30 a.m. Motion 11 was moved by Aaron and second by Linda to go into private. The council did went into private session at 11:08 a.m. The motion was carried. Councillor Linda Lewin has now arrived to join us. Good morning, Linda.
Oh, no.
So do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll motion.
Moved by Aaron.
Oh, sorry. Angela was not there up at the top on the March 5th, 4th? March 4th at the top.
You're not present?
I was in Winnipeg for the April.
Okay.
And then I'll motion.
I'll second with the change.
Attending conference. Attending the Aboriginal Finance Officers meeting in Winnipeg. Okay, it's moved by Aaron with that correction. Is there a seconder?
I'll second, Chief.
Aguirre? Is there anyone opposed? Opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Shelley, did you have a question? Okay, sorry. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Please note the dates that the council meetings have been rescheduled to. Update your calendars, please. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Curtis?
We scheduled one on the 26th in the morning.
I think we changed that because we're going to the,
We're going there, okay. I just wasn't sure.
because it was on the 27th and we would be in Oneida.
Yeah.
So I think we scheduled it to
Well,
the
with
morning.
that travel day.
It's moved by Aguirre, motion 9, moved by Aguirre, and second by Aaron to reschedule the March 27, 2024 local business meeting to March 26 at 9:30 a.m.
Travel Monday.
I think they're going to reschedule to 9:30 in the morning to give council a chance to travel. Is there anybody scheduled?
There is, and they can't.
So the
Oh, okay.
So whatever we tell them in, it would have to be in.
Okay. So we'll
Okay,
just
then they'll have to
change
wait
that
then
day.
till the next, is it urgent? What we could do is the next regular council meeting, post
We'll
it.
talk about it after.
What we could do is if it's urgent, we could schedule them after the regular council meeting gets finished. We could do it that way if it's urgent. Okay, is that a good council agreement to that? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the minutes have been accepted as, is there any other concerns with the, any other business arising from the minutes? Aaron?
No.
Chris? Linda? Aguirre?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none, just that one correction then, that Angela wasn't present. Okay, that those minutes are approved. Meetings outside of the territory. Now, I don't know if I've been approved, but I have, there's a meeting with the, First Nations Family Services, negotiations that's going to be on March the 19th and 20th. Plus, there's a meeting going to take place with the Community Policing Safety Act. And this is primarily probably about the enforcement of ban bylaws that the police will be required to. That's been a long-standing issue, and the underfunding of police services. So they've invited me to come to these meetings, so I have accepted. And so that will take place while I'm in Toronto on March the 19th and 20th. So I need a motion to approve my attendance there. Then I have a meeting on the 20th of March to deal with the Deputy Minister of Community and Social Services concerning the underfunding of the Transitional Support Fund. Right now, our annual contribution is $24,000. There are smaller communities that are receiving upwards to $400,000. We can't be responsive to the social needs in our community with such a small budget. And that's one of the few tools that there is to work with to respond to these social emergencies. So we did intervene, and we did get an extra $40,000 this year to top it up till the end of March. So the finance, housing, and Cecil and Samantha are working to review any rental accounts that are in arrears to see if they can clean that up, if they're eligible under the criteria for TSF. And so I'd like a status report on that, because that money has to be committed by the end of March, or else it gets clawed back. If it gets clawed back, I can't make a strong case to ask for more if we don't spend what we already have.
Chief, which one you talk about in particular?
The transitional support funding, that's the one on the 20th. So I've got meetings with the Minister of Public Safety, the Deputy Minister of Community and Social Services, then the negotiating team for the outstanding issues with the Child Welfare Agreement.
Okay, but what funds are going to lapse, though, in particular? Funds relating to those?
TSF, just the funds, the transitional support funding, which is administered by the Ontario Works Administrator. So that's to help with emergencies that they have to deal with. It's a fund that she can approve if they qualify under the criteria. So there was only for $24,000. So I made a phone call to the Deputy Minister and said, this cannot go on. The formula has not changed since 2010. So whatever First Nations spent in 2010, that became the amount you would get on an ongoing basis. And so some community utilized that fund to the fullest extent possible. They wound up having a much bigger budget, but that isn't what they did here.
Yeah. How much is the dollar figure that we're talking about, approximately?
Well, right now we get $24,000 a year. Through our lobby, I was able to get an additional $40,000 to have more money to work with till March 31st. So they're in the process now of committing that money to some needs that can be addressed. And so Samantha is working with Tom Kring on that. Okay. And so what we're trying to do is get that built up to a much fairer amount for a large First Nations community. So I'm meeting with the Deputy Minister to make sure that gets corrected, because they were leaving it up to the Welfare Administrators Association to deal with it. And I said, they're never going to come to a decision because nobody wants to give up any money. But I said, your intervention's needed because it should be fair to all the First Nations. Yeah. And right now it's not.
Right. But my question was just specific to how much money has to be spent by April 1st.
24,000 plus 40,000.
Okay.
Yeah. 64,000.
And if you don't, you can't lobby for it anymore.
Well, I mean,
Right.
I can't make a credible case.
Yeah.
If you go there and ask for more money, when they say you're not spending what you already got, you really need it, Chief?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are you asking from council then, Chief?
I'm asking for a motion to approve my attendance at those meetings.
Sure, I'll give you a motion for that. I thought it was more
I'll
pertaining to
second.
how that money is going to be spent.
No,
No.
that's staff. They're working on that.
The community safety meeting, is that something that would be relevant to Agoria? Is that portfolio holder?
Well, I've been invited to go to the meeting with the chiefs. I can't invite other people to go to tag along without, that's not how it works. It's a chiefs meeting with the minister.
Okay.
It's not my meeting. If it was my meeting, I could invite who I like, but it's not my meeting. Just one of the invitees.
Just checking.
Was it March the 20th, Chief?
March, it's tomorrow.
Oh.
Tomorrow, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. There are 3 meetings. There's the First Nations Child Family Services negotiation on the settlement agreement that's going to take place. Then there's another meeting with the concerning the Community Policing Safety Act, and this will be primarily about the enforcement of ban bylaws and the underfunding of police services. Mental health probably for the officers might be on the agenda. I haven't seen the agenda. I'll see it when I go to Toronto, meet with the chiefs. Then there's the meeting with the Deputy Minister of Community and Social Services concerning the TFS fund
That's on Thursday, Chief?
on Thursday. So it's been moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Curtis that I'm approved to attend these meetings. The Chiefs of Ontario will be paying for my room for 2 nights, but the meeting with the Deputy Minister is just ours. That'll be 1 night the band will have to pay. Is anyone opposed to that motion to attend those meetings? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The Ganyangi Festival Board has a surplus of $962.83. I'm the last surviving member of the festival board. All the other members have deceased, and so rather than have the money just sit there and be clawed back in an active account, I thought it probably would be the surplus could be put to good use by donating it to the long-term care. So does council accept this donation from the Ganyangi Festival Board? So we need a motion.
What was the festival board?
We used to hold the jamborees in the park and the Christmas events at the school, and they used to look after the Mohawk landing, but I'm too old to start up a festival board. And actually, the reason why it's hard to get volunteers, and so it's the same people doing all the work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the point where it becomes too much. So anyway, that's what I thought. Rather than have the money, because it's just we have to pay interest to have that bank account open, and so to me that doesn't make any sense. So they sent me a letter saying it's basically a dormant account. To keep it alive, you got to go and put $2 a year in it. And for what reason? So we might better. I said I'm the last surviving member of that board, and so that money has sat there since basically Lorraine Hill died. She was the treasurer. And so she died in 2015. So I think it would be advisable just to donate it to the long-term care.
I can make a motion for that.
Moved by Ogwari, second by Linda. Anyone opposed? Thank you. The business registration, car concepts drafting and design. Car concepts and drafting design is a consulting business. Diploma is attached, no inspections required, and there's insurance on file. The recommendation is that council approve this. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Moved by Aaron
I'll second.
and Awari. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Stephen Lindsay has placed an invitation on the council agenda to invite the council and others that are interested to go to the Bellevue House on Thursday, April the 11th. This is the residence of Sir John A. Macdonald's house in Kingston, and there's an event starting at 9:30. This is a special viewing of the house for Indigenous partners, including but limited to the chiefs, council members, directors, and staff of including spouses that have worked on or contributed to the project. So I have went to some of the meetings, and Stephen Lindsay went to some of the meetings, and what I mentioned was that, the whole history had to be told about Sir John A. Macdonald and the building of so many residential schools and the impact that had on many families. And the policy of assimilation, the building of the railroad, the dispossession of Indian people's land, the killing of the buffalo to make natives move away from their land so non-natives could settle there. That's part of the history of Sir John A. Macdonald, as well as the building of the railroad to strengthen the economy of the country and the development of the country. So part of that history is going to be included in the overall. It's becoming more representative of an inclusive history rather than just he built the railroad and was the father of Confederation. He did have a positive working relationship with Chief Sampson Green and with the Longhouse at Six Nations.
Do you just want to know? We want to
So if you want to go, who I think will we coordinate with Stephen Lindsay, and people can just pass their names on to him, and he can pass it on to the people at Bellevue House. Is there anybody interested in attending?
No, I'm good.
I will attend.
I'll attend as well, Chief.
There's different native chiefs and councillors are attending, and some of the people of these or other native organizations will be attending. The Métis will obviously be there as well. Stephen,
Are you attending, Chief?
pardon me?
Are you attending?
I'll attend. We don't need a motion for that. We just need to know who's attending so we can
Oh,
let them
okay.
know. So Aguari and myself then? Okay.
The 11th, Chief?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
April 11th.
11th?
Yeah.
So Sherry, Stephen can let them know then.
Okay.
You can ask Lisa and the research team if they want to attend.
I can go to the Chief.
And Curtis?
Yeah, because my other meeting got moved to the 12th.
Curtis.
in Toronto.
Participation in the Bay of Quinte Film Office and Board. We are being asked to participate in the Bay of Quinte Film Office and Board as a potential for supplying locations and people and resources to the film industry. Their request is to approve to being a board member, being part of the Bay of Quinte office as a supplier for workers, resources, food, accommodations, etc., being a part of Bay of Quinte Film Offices as a potential site location for suppliers, and the creation of a policy document to define parameters that MBQ would require to accept filming in our territory. And so Doug Stevenson, who is with the Quinte Tourism Council, is part of this. Doug has proposed to the communities that make up Quinte West, Brighton, City of West, Belleville, Prince Edward County, Napanee, and Tyendinaga would create our own film office and market ourselves to Ontario. Ontario Creates, provincial agency that works to attract the film industry to Ontario and the film industry directly. Doug has offered that the regional marketing board would be the film office for the Quinte West on behalf of the board has been established to oversee this office. Should the Southeastern Film Fund be created, this area would attract a lot of attention from the film industry. Even if the fund is not established, there's already activity happening in this area. In June, at the episode of Murder Mysteries was filmed in Belleville. The Economic Development Office reported that in 5 days, approximately $25,000 was generated for the city and independent businesses. Both Durham and Kingston have created film offices, and I have attached the parameters that invested Durham shared with us regarding their involvement in the film industry. So this is new, it's being developed. I think it's probably a good thing for us to have a board member on there to find out what's going on. So I guess you are working with the Tourism Council, so would this be something that you would take on, Ogwari,
Yeah, I could.
to be a board member? You have time, do you, or?
Got all kinds of time.
Okay, motion to appoint Ogwari to this board.
I'll move.
Second.
We have a number of harvesting request letters. So there is one from James Adario Leslie George. And he sent all the documentation, the PAL, the status card. So that with regard to James Adario Leslie George, contacted MBQ and requested permission to harvest in our territory area in 2024. He's a member of the Wapagusti First Nation. He requested permission to hunt duck and geese May the 3rd and 4th in the Lansdowne area, and a copy of the status card, PAL card are attached to this briefing note. His status and PAL card have not expired. A letter of permission is attached with his chief medical signature. The second request is Thomas Sidney Darrow. Same request as his father. Status card is expired, but has a Quebec Federation of Hunters and Fishermen's card that does not expire. His stepson, Louise Moise Puchachi, same request as above. He does not require a PAL, but he's not using a firearm. Lyle's status card has not expired. It will expire in June 2024. He's waiting for a PAL card. He will be using a bow and arrow once he gets a card. He was asked to send us a copy. I don't think the Quebec Federation of Hunters and Fishermen's card applies in Ontario. We'd have to check with M&R on that. So Sherry, can you have the staff check with them, M&R, to see if they recognize that card? If they don't, then I don't know whether we can approve that one or not. So the request was to, option one was to grant James Adario Leslie and family by issuing a letter. Hunters from other communities will be in our area harvesting resources alongside our members who may rely on these resources for sustenance. It will be expected that MBQ continue this practice for requests by others. And or you can deny the request, and it's recommended that council go with option one to approve the request.
I'd make a motion to defer this till we find out if that Quebec Federation of Hunters and Fishermen's card will work in Ontario, because he doesn't have a valid status card.
Okay, motion to defer.
Was that for the child?
Yeah.
The hunter? Oh, and his.
It's moved by Aguirre to defer it for clarification,
I'll second that, Chief.
and seconded by Chris Miracle. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried.
If he's with, just a quick, oh, sorry, hindsight. If he's with his adults, does he need that stuff? I don't know what the hunting and fishing rules are. Chris probably would have known. Like if you're with an adult, you don't
Everybody who
need a
carries
PAL, right?
everybody who carries a firearm who owns a gun has to have a PAL license if you own a gun. If you're hunting with someone with a gun, they have to be within arm's reach of that gun.
So like his child. So that
But
little
they
guy.
have to be within arm's reach. They cannot let them hunt on their own. If they're teaching, they have to be right with side by side with them. But if they're the age of majority, they should be getting a PAL license and they should be getting all the documentation that we require. The other thing I think we should be asking for is a CPIC to make sure that there's no offenses with firearms, because I don't want to be issuing a letter if it turns out there's some issue with a firearm.
Well, usually if they have a weapons offense, they can't get a PAL.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since the PAL was issued, I want to make sure there's nothing that's cropped up since then that we may not be aware of. So
I understand.
the Tyendinaga Tourism and Visitor Center. ISC has approved funding to complete the feasibility for a tourism visitor center. Next steps are to approve awarding Smoke Architect to complete the study, approve the total budget, approve the budget, 20% of the cost study, briefing note, approve all the above. Is there a motion to do this?
Where's the tourism center going?
They were going to convert that building in front of the Aboriginal Labor Force to build, it's, what do you call it, a CCAN building? And of course, the council decided it would be better, instead of tying up all that money in that structure that's there now, it would be better to build a new facility. And I presume the location will be there, that it's not been confirmed.
Just getting rid of
That's the
those.
location of the center.
So if council is going to approve that location, we need to map out where is it going to be and all this kind of stuff, and maybe a proposal brought to council for approval.
So this is just to approve awarding it to,
To go on with the study that has to be done, and the
Oh.
design of Smoke Architect and all that. It's a development part.
all motion.
Moved by Aaron
I'll second, Chief.
Ogwari. There's a letter here to the tobacco agreement. And the motion is to decline this to sign the agreement for more quota because we don't want to be involved with, we don't have the capacity to police it. And so the quota will be, if you signed to police it and all that, there would be 153,314 cartons. If you don't sign, okay, so the statement of allocation, your base, the MBQ base allocation for 12-month period, April 1st to the 31st of March, is 139,376 cartons of cigarettes. Your allocation for the 10% increase for special events and sales for First Nations non-members off of the reserve is 153,314 thousand cartons. If the council or the band signs the tobacco retailer agreement, the allocation box say will increase by 20%. So we have special events like the powwow, the landing on the fair, and then we're along the 401. So does that mean we get, and a lot of people stop in that are status to buy cigarettes. So does that mean we get 153,000 cartons? Sherry or Angela, do you know?
If we,
It says your base allocation with a 10% increase, but do we have to police it to get that 150?
We get the
There's option A and option B.
briefing note says we get the 153, 314.
as long as I've been here, we said no.
It says, but the recommendation is that the council decline to sign the agreement and accept the tax tobacco. Oh, it is 153,000, accept the 153. Okay,
Motion to
moved
not
by
sign,
Aaron, just A,
to
to
continue.
decline this, to sign the agreement. Who'll second it? So we don't sign the agreement, we get 153,000 cartons.
If you sign it, you have to police that they won't sell it to non-status, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that would create a capacity issue
Yeah.
for us. So it's been moved by Aaron to decline signing the agreement. Who will second it?
I'll second.
Linda? Is there anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The new tobacco vendors. MCR needed, Mohawk Council resolution is needed for new tobacco vendors. Lily Dolls Farm, the owners Amy Lewis, Nation's Finest, Tina Green. Motion to approve.
Tara.
Linda, you're moving?
No, I just said that it's not Tina Green, it's Tara Green.
Oh, Tara Green, sorry. Is there a motion to approve?
They have their business licenses and such. There's not very much information in this section.
I think they're already operating businesses. Lily Dolls is operating, so I presume she has a permit to purchase wholesale in core. Tara
And
Green
Tara
is
Green.
Nation's Finest. So they've identified so they're operating at 5455 Old Highway 2.
That's the SO.
They're operating?
Is it registered? Do they need to be registered to be able to?
SGs.
They're both, okay, yeah, then I'll motion.
Moved by Aaron
I'll second it, Chief.
and Curtis. To approve. Anyone opposed? Moved by Aaron and seconded by Curtis to approve. The motion is carried. The tobacco vendors list for 24-25. The list is attached for your review. Please advise regarding new vendors. List-based acceptance of vendors exempt from TSSA requirements for the time being. Review and approve the vendors list. Now, some of them are highlighted in yellow. What is that supposed to indicate?
That the ones that are being removed?
For the
Those may be the ones that do not have the TSSA
Oh, yeah.
approval.
yeah, if they could just note that, Sherry, so we know how to interpret this,
Okay.
if we have to guess at it.
It could be in the briefing. No, it's not.
For the 2024 tobacco quota, we are allocating the full quota to Cubby's chip truck. Again, in April this year, this means no allocation will be released in October, as this is a seasonal business. Lily Dolls Farm and Nation's Finest convenience store have been added as new vendors. Vendors removed are Martin Speed, Skyway Variety, have requested to be removed from the quota. Smoky Shop, Soaring Eagle, Rock Sands have been removed as they are no longer open. You said it doesn't refer to these ones that are highlighted. Can we just clarify, ask Diane Winkler to clarify what that's what it means, so we don't,
Yeah, maybe these are one for the TSSA approval. 'Cause they're-
Were they? I didn't think
seem
the
like
Village
same
Variety
name
was on
the
that.
list.
Was the Village Variety on that one? I didn't think they were. Neither was Salmon River, was it?
Yeah, I think Salmon River was.
Wasn't on?
Village Variety, Trevor Lewis, so he still operates that business as far as I know.
Yeah, no, but maybe his thing was expired from the last time we had the list, is what I'm
Oh,
thinking.
yeah, the
It might be
TSSA.
an updated list.
The briefing notes.
There, sorry?
Okay. Just note, then yellow lack TSSA.
But they're all intending to get those inspections?
Yes, they are working on that now.
So the ones who are non-compliant with the TSSA inspection, because there was COVID, the inspector was not coming to do the inspections the way they normally would. So there's some letters here that will have to be approved to give them a 6-month extension to get everything to get in compliance with the policy. It's a grace period. Will be put before council to consider. But if we approve, maybe we have to deal with that first. Because we approve the list, then these letters have to go out to say, you have 6 months to become compliant.
Okay, so you want to put that provision because you were talking about approving them for the tobacco quota, but
Well, to
treating
me-
the gas issue separately.
Yeah.
So do you want
This is just for the tobacco quota, okay.
This is just for tobacco
Okay.
quota.
Are there businesses registered separate from the gas?
The business registration says, are you selling tobacco? Are you selling gas? It's all on one form.
But are they able to be fully registered as just the tobacco portion, or do they have to be in compliance with the TSSA to get their registration?
That's where we need
Well,
her to
really-
come to Chambers to give those details.
Well, really, in the call that we had with Kelly Hart the other day from TSSA, what she said is if they're not compliant with the inspection, then really the fuel handler shouldn't be delivering gas.
The fuel will cease to be delivered
Okay,
to those that are not in compliance.
okay.
So in order to get fuel, they'll have to have the inspection done.
Yeah, and that's being treated separate though from the tobacco quota because we don't want to hinder their ability to.
Sell tobacco, I agree. So they could say if they can't sell gas, they still can sell tobacco.
Okay.
So is there a motion to approve this list as recommended?
So the only thing I'm confused about, so is the CSSA.
Linda, can
did
you
they
speak
get
up?
appro- Did they get approved? Like.
Well,
with-
I can't.
Because I wasn't on that meeting because I was sick.
Well, I mean, if I don't want to speak ahead of the inspector, Linda. I don't know what's there. They have to inspect it first. I don't see, unless there's something seriously wrong and something's happened since the last time the inspector was there. But during COVID, the inspector was not doing any inspections. And there's a backlog of requests and they're going to get caught up on that, but it'll take in the next 2 months.
Okay, that's where I was just confused about.
And sorry, just to clarify this in my brain, because they can use all different sort of vendor delivery services for gas, right? Like there used to be like OTE or Rosebush or whatever.
Right.
So all of those vendors will not be allowed to deliver them if they're not TSSA?
And if they're not TSSA compliant, yes.
Yeah, because the carriers can lose their TSSA license for delivering a station
Yeah.
that don't have TSSA.
They let them know that they're not to deliver fuel.
Because
Those
what happens when
locations.
there's a gas leak, even though we don't generate any revenue from it, then there's expenses that the band has to incur for the environmental work that has to be done.
And all of these
It's a
businesses-
safety issue as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So all of the businesses other than that are in compliance and would otherwise be registered. It's just.
I'm not
TSA.
really anticipating that there'll be any issues, but again, but the inspector has to come and see. I'm not the inspector, and I don't want to mislead anybody either. That's why we have an inspector come.
Yeah, okay. I'll motion.
I'll second.
So we're approving just the tobacco vendors list.
Yes.
Moved by Aaron and second by Linda. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion's carried. This issue has been before council before. Ken Brandt has requested a right-of-way. It's been on the agenda a number of times. The staff tell us that there is no reason why we shouldn't grant this right-of-way. It doesn't landlock anybody's property. So Kenneth Brandt owns lot 20E concession A shown on the attached Google map. Hickory Road allowance ends at 20J, 20K, and 20OL, concession A owned by MBQ. In order for Ken to access lot 20E, he requires approximately a 20-foot right-of-way within the lot 20 headed north to lot 20E. So there's a map there.
Chief, I have a potential conflict. I know it's been discussed before that I was not in conflict, but I have potential conflict for me.
Okay. And what is the nature of the conflict?
That it could be potentially construed that I could get better access to my property, which is the land in pink, adjacent to that.
And does this interfere with you getting access to your road?
No.
You're like, okay. Because it would provide access, right?
Well, on
Does he-
paper it does not appear, but just for optics, I'm just gonna
Okay,
clarify
that's
that.
okay.
So in the agenda, it's asking, he wants to buy the land.
No, is a right of way is not, we still own it.
But in the agenda, he's saying that he wanted to buy it, was he not?
Yeah, he's saying
He would like
to sell Ken a portion of lot 20 so that he can access lot 20E. So,
Oh, okay, so he's
Oh.
not asking to purchase it.
Okay, so does this right of way then go to other people's property? Or is it it goes to his property, then it's not required for anybody else?
It appears that way, Chief.
Oh, I see the chunk. Oh, I wish,
If it just goes to his lot and it's a right of way, the van, no, they may not have to maintain it. So does council approve this right of way?
what's the other lot underneath Ken Brandt's? Like right to the bottom.
Is Amy here today? Sherry?
Van land.
Is it? it's all
Amy?
van land
Amy
back there?
Smart?
would you like her to come?
Yes, I would.
But they're saying it'll be a landlocked.
Amy's
The staff said there's no reason why we shouldn't grant it. It doesn't landlock anybody's property. And I guess the location of it doesn't make the property unusable, like a small piece that's unusable. So where the 20-foot issue on either side, if we own on either side of it, it has to be usable land.
And it's still usable, that little chunk?
So you need to
Is it just going
position
across
that
the
right away
corner?
to make sure you don't wind up with creating something that's unusable.
Is it just going across the corner, like down here? Because there's like the road allowance comes along here. Is it, like just going across the corner so you can access this property?
Yeah, the road goes up there, and
Because this looks like yeah,
it's a trail, and he's asking,
for 20 feet there.
yeah,
Okay, we'll just set that aside. She'll be in later then.
Chief, just for the benefit of the new council, I'm not sure if I shared it, but in many, many years ago, decades ago, council had given an easement to other folks on Hickory because when they put that road through, you can see how the road goes like this, but the properties are like this. So by the ban putting that road there, instead of on the lot line so people could access their properties, it landlocked everybody and it made a ton of land virtually unusable when you got lots that go like this. So the council has already in the past given community members access to their property via an easement, because the council did say at the time that they should have put the road between the properties and not landlocked everybody. That's just a bit of a history.
So isn't this looking like it would just,
I'm sorry?
I'm just wondering why, like, if this is Karen's and this is yours, why put it here and not here?
Yes, when they put this road in, they should have put it along the property lines, and then everybody can access it. But I see by severing it, you do there.
You take your coat out, that's instead of, it goes around?
That's.
Amy, could you come over here, please? I want you to show me where this road is going to be. Where is this right of way proposed to be that we're going to get?
So,
This is Ken's lot here.
yes, here. Across 20.
So on the bottom.
Yeah,
Yes.
just, it's just like
Hickory.
the old trail used to be,
The
right?
hickory kind of it ends here physically, as you can see. And there's like a fence here blocking, but this is the road allowance. He wants it here, like across this.
So we'd have to cut a corner off there, right?
Yeah, essentially Ken would have to have a
Okay.
survey put that in.
Okay, Amy's explaining it.
Okay, Chief, right here.
This is Ken's lot here.
Yep.
This is the abandoned lot, so he needs to cut it because Hickory Road doesn't butt that road there. He doesn't come down to where the road stops. So he wants to have a road that'll cut across the corner, so you'd have to sell him a corner piece, so he can have access to this lot. So it wouldn't, you can give him a right of way over it, which will do the same thing, but in this corner, but don't put it way up here, so it makes this corner piece unusable. It would have to be right down here on the very corner.
I'm just looking at it in access to like, if this one ever wanted access to this one, and how the road is here. Would it be possible to kind of go this way?
Who owns the land down here? Down here, if that road, that
South
road.
of 20 where Ken owns.
Yes, the band, but I'm not sure.
Find out who
Let me
owns
run
it.
back and see.
Who owns the land below, because it would make more sense to have the road but that lot
Okay.
than cutting across that corner there, but.
So if this road is already here, so we
Cut here to here.
Just this corner.
instead of having this sort of break these two up, could it not come up?
Well, that's why we have to find, she's going to find who owns that.
Not this one, this,
We don't.
yeah, that's what I mean, instead of having this come through the middle and effectively breaking it up into two chunks. And it could it not come up here, this way, to take it right away this way, and then it would access this land and potentially whoever, well, but whoever wanted that land, it would give them access as well.
Well, he already has that, he already has access to this road that's here.
That's not just
this
like
is the road.
Chunk it in half.
Yeah, this is a road allowance that goes right up to the ridge road.
Right.
They said the road is not built yet. Chris has requested that this road be built.
Right.
That's on the list that Todd had.
Who requested?
I thought you had requested this road be over here.
Yeah, and I sent an email saying I'd like to see that request, Chief. I never made a request to that effect, and I sent an email saying I never made that request, and there was no response.
Oh, so you're not requesting?
Absolutely not, Chief.
Okay. But there is a road allowance that goes out.
And I would request, Chief.
Because we'd be taking off a lot of land here needlessly, because there's already access up here. The road would have to be built, so we could cut across there, but I want to find out if the road should maybe come along the edge of this lot line here. If that's on our land, to extend that further west. Because people are looking for places to build.
Chief,
Yes.
I'm requesting a response to my email.
Okay. Let's deal with one thing at a time.
Yes, please.
Let's deal with what we're dealing with here. Who owns that lot there? And finish one thing first.
Yes, she's just checking and she'll be right back.
Then we can deal with that your request after,
Yeah.
Chris. But note that Angela, Chris is requesting a response to his email.
I don't know the email, but there's never been anything brought to the table saying you requested this to be over. I don't know where it's coming from. It was never you bringing it to the table.
There was a request, Todd put on the agenda, all the,
Other community groups for that to be open. The
okay,
request was never brought forward.
The email that the chief stated that I requested it. And I said, I categorically never requested it, and I'd like a response. This is the second time I'm asking for a response. It's out there in the public domain. She's making statements that I requested it based on an email from staff, and I'm saying I never requested it, and I asked
Okay.
for an email in return, and I never had an email in response. And I'm
Okay.
requesting. Well, obviously the chief's seen it, and I imagine everyone else has seen it in the past council. Chief didn't just use his.
Can you give me an
whatever-
approximate date, Chris, so I can search? Was it?
I would suggest you ask Todd, because Todd had sent the package to council,
Oh,
This council or last council?
the last council.
that's council. Maybe Chris, because the new council hasn't heard what the issue, can you just tell them what it is?
I think the issue was on opening up new road allowances, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then in that package, it was stated that I requested that that road be open, and I said, I never once requested that would be a definite conflict of interest.
Well, in the one that we saw, it wasn't you, it was somebody else. Like the one
I
that came
thought,
to us,
I
it
thought
wasn't you.
somebody was buying a lot down there and they wanted the road opened.
There were a couple of people. There was Nikki Storms had asked, because Nikki Storms owns, there's a carve out in that pink. Nikki Storms own a lot top of the hill, and she had asked council.
Okay.
The Carl district?
So I guess, were you following up on her behalf with that email?
No, I'm not following up on her behalf at all, chief.
So what is, if there's
In
no
the Carvel,
request?
that's Nikki's, you said? That,
Yes.
Okay. and that's the,
And that's where the
whatever.
whatever would go. And Carmen Ciro owns this piece right there.
Carmen Ciro.
Carmen Ciro, yeah, and I own that.
But I thought that was on the list of requests to have that road opened.
Oh, the other community members had asked that it be open coming from this end, across from the church. Community members have bought some
Down
parcels.
to Hickory Lane.
No, that would be, they're calling it Ellie's or something, extension of a road.
Oh, Eli's there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Eli's,
Where
okay.
the hydro poles are, where
Yeah,
Frame and
yeah,
Miracle
they
used to
come right from
live.
the swamp, all the way right straight down to the bay.
Yeah. So a couple lots were purchased in the last few years up close to the road. So they're asking, and at the same time, Nicole was asking coming from that end. So you got different requests, but coming from different ends.
Okay.
But I have to.
In future, can we have the lands department give us a sketch and stuff like that, all, what is being proposed, so we don't have to call them and ask, where is this road gonna be?
yeah,
All it's in the package is the lots. I had asked her today, she said,
It had came in the past.
there's another,
there's a
uh,
map of the lots.
yeah.
They show you where the lots are, but it doesn't show you where the proposed road's supposed to be.
No, it doesn't, you're right.
So we're
So,
if we could take a 5-minute break while we wait for Amy to come back with that information, we'll take a 5-minute break.
This land thing?
We can get a drink and a donut that O'Barry so graciously has brought for us.
Okay.
So since we own lot 20J, would council think about extending this road, Hickory Road, along the borderline of this property that butts Ken's property? Then he would have access to everywhere along here. Or one option, the other option is to give him a right of way to have it go across the corner here, there to there. But I would seriously consider, since we own that, straighten this road out instead of have it going down and straighten it out and just have it run right along this line here. The bottom
That makes
piece.
sense to me.
Makes more sense.
So a survey would have to be, would be required in order to kind of adjust that line or move that in any way. Would that be MBQ's responsibility to have?
Yes,
that survey
because it would be our
done?
road.
Our road allowance, so our responsibility to move it.
Yeah, so we would pay to have Kevin Smith come and survey that and give that a separate description for that road.
Okay,
Is that a better development plan? Because then if he wants to sell lots to band members are always looking for a place to build a house.
I'd motion that.
I'll second
Okay,
it.
to extend the road onto lot 20J, all the way along that property line. Yep. And prepare a letter for my signature, that's how we're going to fix it.
okay.
Then we don't have to transfer any land or cut any land up, we just put the road along that.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte.
20J. Okay, who'll move that? Ogwari, and who else?
And
Aaron? Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. The Chiefs of Ontario Regional Health Survey, we have participated in this here, this health survey before. However, it has the Chief's office has requested MBQ to participate in the regional health survey and requested participated in the next phase. And it has additional questions incorporated into review for food sovereignty, climate change, and COVID-19 practices. They're requesting that a targeted number of surveys be completed, which they will fund, and that a community lead be named to work with them.
Chief?
And there's a resolution here. Go ahead, Chris.
Chief, point of order. The last item, you said you would deal with the suggestion that I asked for the road allowance, and you said you would deal with
Okay,
it after the last one?
Okay, if I'm mistaken, then my apologies, because I didn't, I knew that was on the agenda, and I thought it was the road allowance where that went beside the barn down the, if it's Eli Lane was the extension request, then my apologies.
But it's still, a staff person had sent formal correspondence to chief and council and other staff saying I requested it, and I did not. And I asked for that either be retracted or a correction or an apology.
Okay, if there's correspondence to council to say that he was requesting it, because that was my understanding.
Yep.
My understanding was
is
that lots
correct,
were going to
Chief.
be sold and that the people that were buying these lots were requesting the road be extended.
Chris, I'm going to need to look into that. I'm going to need to look at for that correspondence that you're referring to. So when we locate it, I'll certainly take a look at that.
Yeah, it's not a big issue, but it should have some closure. And
Yep, sure, no problem.
Some of these unopened road allowance requests have been here for a while with no decision. We have money to open them. And I think council I think we passed a formal motion to just get on with and getting the design and all of that work done and bring a report back to council. Todd is working on it. I know that, but instead of piecemealing it, if we got money to open them up, then open them up.
as I said, it's just an oversight on someone's part, but that should be corrected.
But there's more to deal with than just the road. Then there's hydro, there's
We
water,
did that in
there's-
was it January council? We made a motion for the roads that were to be opened with the money that they had.
yeah.
Yeah. that's already,
If that's not on there, bring a report back to refresh council's memory what roads were authorized to be opened and to see if that was on there.
Eli Lane was one of them.
Okay.
It's on there, not as the priority, the first priority one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one of the problems with Eli's Road was that it was extremely wet.
There.
There are artesian wells in that road allowance, and so that was probably a development challenge. And so I don't know if that's advisable to open that part or not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the Regional Health Survey. Whereas the Regional Health Survey is a First Nations driven survey which is aimed at collecting information regarding the health status of First Nations across Canada. And whereas the First Nation Information Governance Centre is funded by the Government of Canada to conduct the RHS together with its regional partners, including the Chiefs of Ontario. The Chiefs of Ontario maintains accountability to the First Nations through its membership, which includes all 133 Ontario First Nations as represented by their respective chiefs. The First Nations Information Governance Centre maintains accountability to First Nations through its membership, which includes all participating regional organizations. And whereas it is in its conduct and stewardship over the First Nations Regional Health Survey 1, 2, and 3, RHS 1, 2, and 3, the First Nations Information Governance Centre, working together with the regions, has established reputation and infrastructure that maintains direct accountability to the First Nations leadership, respect for First Nations principles of OCAP, which stands for ownership, control, access, and possession, while providing a security and privacy framework that meets the highest standards. And whereas the regional survey phase 4 was developed to respect and uphold rights of First Nations and jurisdictions of their representative bodies and to gather First Nations data to be used by the First Nations to improve the quality of life of their citizens, communities, and tribal and regional entities. And whereas the Regional Social Survey is the upcoming survey that will explore the well-being of First Nations children and families living on reserve and is slated for collection in the fall of 2024. And whereas the regional survey is a continuation of previous work done by the First Nations Information Governance Centre and its regional partners, the First Nations Regional Early Childhood Education Employment Survey and the First Nations Labour and Employment Development Survey, and if and when the Mohawk survey is selected, the resolution will be inclusive of our RSS. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council consents to the participation of the Mohawks, the Bay Quinte, and the First Nations Regional Health Survey for Survey 4 and the Regional Survey Social Survey, RSS. TMC acknowledge that the Chiefs of Ontario have mandated the Chiefs in Assembly to conduct this research. Does Council approve this to pass this resolution?
Yep, I'll motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Aaron and seconded by Linda. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. The Allen Pratt invoice. Attaches invoice 6265 for services provided in February 2024, and the amount of that invoice is $2,500. The invoice number is 6265 in the amount of $1,375.46. Motion to approve payment.
I'll motion.
Aaron,
I'll second.
and this relates to the Culberson claim. On that, Jordan Sewell would like to have a meeting with the council urgently. There's a lot of outstanding issues that we have to start giving some direction on that affect the Turton Pen settlement, as well as some issues on the Culverson. Go ahead.
But don't forget, Lisa hasn't had a chance to meet with you guys on
Yeah.
all the land claims and stuff like that. We only met on the businesses. You haven't even heard her section yet.
And so anyway, we need, if we're going to make any progress, we need to get on with it. Okay.
On land claims. No, she's off.
She's going to be off until April the 2nd.
Yeah.
So early in April, I would like us to have a meeting. I'd put it on the next agenda to schedule a meeting date to brief the council on the Turton Pen lease, as well as the issues that are involving the Culverson lease. And we need to be able to get back to Jordan and Alan to find out what are we going to be doing. There are some things that need to be addressed.
On the land claims, probably would be half a day, chief, would you say?
At least a half a day.
At least, and don't forget, she didn't go over her section either, we only went over these.
So Lisa can update the council on why there's a claim, the history of the claim, all that sort of thing, why we're claimed, the date it was accepted, and where we're at in the process. Because it's been more than a year now since the government wrote to us to ask us for a proposal on how we would settle the Turton Pen lease. I give Lisa some information to what I think might be fair, but again, we need to have a full council discussion. And I think council should seriously look at looking at the proxy model. But we'll discuss all that when we have that meeting. The next invoice that's been moved to pay, the Alan Pratt invoice. The next invoice is Andrea St. Bernard. She was the lawyer that was working with David on the some of the corporation issues and the golf course. And anyway, she was the lawyer with the Aboriginal Business Network. And so there's one final invoice to pay here. And please request to approve the invoice.
All motion.
Now, what's the amount here that we're being asked to pay here? I don't see an invoice.
209.26.
There was a question of it said wasn't sure if the subtotal recovery charges was $309.26. And then she says her fee is $450 per hour. That is wrongly charged. Let's see if there's any
The total
invoices here.
amount
Well, it
is
is an invoice, chief. I'm looking at the invoice and it says invoice 2314.
It's recovery. So the total invoice $49.64.
Yes.
Okay, it's in the folders. My apologies. Okay, do we have a motion to pay the invoice to Andrea St. Bernard in the amount of $4,964.40?
all motion.
Darren is moving.
Second.
Will second.
I will, chief.
Curtis. Motion is carried. The audit plan and checklist. The audit plan and proposal for the provisions of external audit and accounting services for the year ending March 31st. Wilkinson has been the past auditor for many years, a local firm from Belleville. M&P is the leading national accounting tax consulting firm in Canada. They've served the MBQ needs many nations. They've served many needs. They have served to the needs of many First Nations, NFP part sectors, and the nearest office would be in Kingston. They have some MMP, some has some indigenous clients. AI is one of them. Oneida of the Thames, Chippewas of Nawash, Mississaugas of the Credit, Beaver Lake, Cree Nation, Mohawk Council of Ganawagi, and the Chiefs of Ontario. So Wilkinson is the most familiar with our accounts, our funding agreements, our past audits. There's a quote there. The total was for MMP was 77,000 and 56,000 for Wilkinson. In 2021-22, our Wilkinson fees were 54,000. In 2021, 13,000. And part of the issue, the fees would come down if in these corporations, like the golf course, for example, they prepared their own draft audit instead of letting the auditor prepare the schedules. That's not really what the auditor should be doing. They're supposed to audit that work. An auditor cannot audit their own work. So that was one of the things that we directed them to do. So my recommendation would be to stick with Wilkinson. They're cheaper, they're local, they're more familiar with our system. We have to get our audit done by the 31st of July, or else this year the Open LP will be withholding funds until they get an audit, or at least the schedule of where the money for 2024 was spent. All you have to give them to not have them put a stop on funding is a schedule on where we spent Open LP money. For 2023, but what I'm telling you is that in 2024, the March 2024 audit, if it's late in July, they will start withholding funds was a notice came out. So let's get on with the audit. Motion to appoint Wilkinson as.
Motion, Chief.
I'll second.
She's recommending we go with Wilkinson this time, but maybe consider MNP for future. Based on.
You know, chartered accountants are licensed, and really when you get another firm come in, they got to familiarize themselves. All it does is wind up costing a lot more for the audit.
Yeah, the fee is substantially higher in my view.
And also because they're not familiar with the stuff, your audit will be delayed.
Again, yes.
And we don't need delays.
No, we don't.
On that note, was there a plan not being put in place to make sure all the finances are in order and ready for the auditors? I know they're talking about bringing in support staff, etc. Was there a plan in place? I'm sorry?
Fully implemented yet? No, but there was a plan.
So
We can talk about that in private.
Chris,
It is a private thing.
if you're approving to appoint Wilkinson and Company as our auditors for 2023, for the year ended March 31st, 2024,
Yes.
and we're approving the audit plan.
I didn't see the audit one.
It's attached there.
It's really, they give them a list of the schedules they have to prepare and all that thing. It's the same every year.
Okay, I didn't look in this, but
It's
yes,
what stuff
I
the
approve.
Staff have to have ready for them to conduct the audit. So has
That's
that gone?
correct.
Yes.
So does anyone know if that has been prepared yet? The audit plan, have we got a notice of what schedules have to be prepared from John Tour?
Yes.
Yep, it's in there.
We have?
It's in the file.
So that should be the audit plan. The work that our staff has to do to get audit ready. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The reconciliations have to be done.
It's all in there. I just didn't see it.
Yeah, okay.
Originally, I was looking in the wrong
Okay.
button.
No problem. So that motion has been moved and seconded. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion's carried. Now, we have to pass a resolution to appoint our auditors. It has to go to the department. So that will be an MCR. The Bank of Montreal Loan Program Report ended February 2024. So we have 116 loans guaranteed at the Bank of Montreal as of February 28th. The mortgage balance available is $16,499,972.95, and that's what you have left to guarantee, according to what you have unused part of your resolution. The old housing program has been reducing, has now 8 mortgages remaining with no payments, with no payouts last month. The total balance at the end of the month is $244,026.61. Last month it was $247,000, $35.88. The new housing program involved in the limit of 23 million currently has 108 mortgages. The total balance at the end of the month was $16,255,946.34. The report shows that there are 3 mortgages in arrears. As of March 4th, the arrear balances are showing 2 payments on one mortgage, 1 payment in another, and 1 payment in another. Action taken by staff. Ashley has discussed with the member client, had forwarded information to Sam to cover this through Jordan's principal, and she will follow up to see if they have been they're going to get this funding. Confirm with Ashley has reached out to the bank to follow up with the other 2 small arrears, and often these single missed payments are a simple issue with their bank and are quickly resolved. So I'd like a report on, is this all been straightened away by the next council agenda, put it back on. Motion to acknowledge the report.
I'll motion.
What's the old housing program and the new?
Before we had the market-based housing program, the council had guaranteed some mortgages on the strength of our revolving fund.
Okay.
So these are before there was a program in place like that.
Like the BMO one, or?
Like the BMO, there were just, it was a specific arrangement that the council put in place before the market-based housing program was available.
Is
It's
that-
moved by,
Is that different than, you know how there's like the band mortgage and then the BMO mortgage? Is the old housing program the band mortgages?
well, a lot of people wanted to go to the
Two different kinds of band mortgages? So is
The
the
old
old,
program, the band had to guarantee 100% of the mortgage. The new one, they only have to guarantee 80%.
oh, okay.
so the difference was that ours was constantly 6% interest. The interest rate was never adjusted by a motion of council. When the interest rates came very low, then the bank, a lot of people wanted to pay out the band mortgages and switch to the Bank of Montreal. So they were garnering all the interest off of those mortgages. But some of them did remain with the band. A number of them are still with the band.
So there's only 8 with the band and the rest are with?
No, 8. All of these are Bank of Montreal mortgages.
Okay, this is just a different, okay.
Yeah, the old program.
There's 2 programs
Got
at the bank. One is the market-based, and then before there was a program that the council had instituted with the bank before that program came to be, and there's now 8 mortgages left to pay off on that.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, is it moved by Aguirre to acknowledge the report?
I'll second it.
Aaron, and we need to follow up on the rear issues. See if they're resolved, just say they're resolved and report to the next council. Anyone opposed to accepting that report? Seeing none, the motion's carried. To acknowledge receipt of the report. So the Amendment 48, addition to reserves is $40,000 in new additional money. Water, additional $250,000. The Amendment 49 is for an additional $240,000 for education PLN. Home and Community Care Policy Development, $16,738, and this, I guess they're gonna hire a one-time supportive care person. Motion to approve?
Are these all monies that have to be spent by the end, are spent by the end of this fiscal,
Yeah,
like in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. Sometimes it depends on the kind of contribution agreement we have, if it's set or if it's fixed. And so some of it you can carry forward and some of it you can't. So really, can you give a seasonal report? Have seasonal prepare a report for council on any funds that may be recoverable if they're not spent by March 31st?
Okay,
To be formally acknowledged, you do, this is where you go in and you put your name in there and make sure that
Yeah.
all of the copies was copied. So they've already gone to ISC,
They're already signed.
These.
For the
these need
minutes.
to be on the agenda. and
For the
so that
minutes.
We can put them in the minutes.
okay.
As formally.
Yeah. So I usually respond quickly so we get the money quickly. It doesn't get bogged down into delay. So the staff then have the financial resources they need to work with.
Okay, I acknowledge.
Moved by Aaron to approve. Who'll
Yeah,
second?
second.
And I also copy, I have to copy the council in every time I send one of those emails, so you get
Yeah.
notified that that money has been locked in.
Got it.
Now, some of these documents have a signature page and some of them don't. Why is that?
Already sent it back.
Okay.
Technically, you don't have to sign it again if you send it the way they accepted it.
Yeah, that was a temporary thing just while COVID was on though, too.
No, it's still going on,
I know, but it's still, it was a COVID response.
and they're still accepting. Clearly outlined in the email.
Okay, that motion is carried. We now have amendment 51, 52, and 53.
I will acknowledge.
Moved by Aaron. Well, actually, you're approving it.
I will approve it.
Okay. Is there a seconder?
I'll second, Chief.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Amendment 54, 55, and 56. So what it is there's no additional funding for Amendment 56. Reporting due date changed the amendment, so the report date is changed. Amendment 56, ESC implementation was $34,500.06 for project administration. $32,000 service agreement Q3WK, $416,772. The COM operational readiness program, $178,981. Education train bill capacity and water wastewater 25,000. Motion to approve.
I'll motion.
Moved by Aaron. Who will second it?
I'll second, Chief.
Linda. Anyone opposed?
Whoa.
So there should be a review with the program directors in CESL to make sure that all their money is going to get spent by the end of March or are committed.
Yeah.
So we don't have to wind up having a lot of recoverable surpluses. There's not really that many that are recoverable anyway now. And if there's any reason for the delay, then there should be requests going over to carry it forward. Some of them you're allowed to carry it over for an extra year, but you have to explain the delay.
Yeah.
The ISO is offering $330,000 for an on-reserve band-owned building to undertake the Save on Energy funding opportunity is offering $330,000 for on-reserve band-owned buildings to undertake energy efficiency projects. Funding can be used for lighting, conversion to LED, renewable energy projects such as photovoltaic solar system to lower energy costs for institutional buildings. Benchmark reports on 15 buildings will be provided with 4 buildings to have full energy audits completed, which PIT projects can decide on. The recommendation is to accept the funding from the ICO Save on Energy First Nations Community Building Retrofit Program by Band Council Resolution. Is there a mover for this resolution?
I'll move.
Aaron? Is there a seconder?
I'll second you.
Linda? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion's carried. Section 10, tiny houses. A ministerial loan guarantee is required to proceed with CMHC Section 95 loan proposed for tiny homes on North Street. Approve the application for an MLG Band Council Resolution attached Section 95 for 14 net zero tiny houses. Does council approve?
Chief?
Yes?
I will move to accept the funding, but I'd like to at the same time have a discussion on this item in camera with council when we discuss other add-ons. So perhaps we could defer this and have an in-camera discussion.
Deferred?
There's an item that Cecil has on there regarding these, so I'd like to have an in-camera discussion,
Okay.
Chief.
Let's defer that then.
Thank you.
The ISO capacity building funding agreements. MBQ has been approved for $125,000 in funding through the Independent Electrical Supply Systems Operator to further educate and training of the CEC and energy team. Skills will be used to design, install, and monitor renewable energy systems on commercial and band-owned property to help offset energy costs moving forward towards net zero community goals. The recommendation is to approve and accept the funding from the ISO's Education and Capacity Building Program. Is there a mover to accept it?
I have a question, Chief.
Go ahead.
Was the contractor, was it formal tender process in place to select that?
That's an administrative question. Can the administration answer?
Okay.
Was it
Can you
tendered?
have Tommy come in, please?
In future, when there's items like this on the agenda in other municipal governments, the program director comes and presents the information to council. It's not the chair's job to present that information to council. Here, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
So in future, the program manager should be attending council for them to speak to, and their items should be grouped together on the agenda so that they.
That's right. I agree. We're trying to get that organized. So, and yeah, we have to fine tune it, I think.
Okay, so in future, we can just sort of tighten up on that.
Yeah.
These are, yeah.
Okay. So, Tom, we're on the Jamie Brandt Education and Capacity Building, the 125,000 in funding for the independent electrical supply operator to educate and train CEC energy team skills to be used in the design, installation, and monitor renewable energy systems on commercial and abandoned buildings to help offset energy costs moving toward net zero.
I thought we were on the $200,000 one.
No, he requested an in-camera session for that, and this
Isn't that
will,
the first one?
the tiny homes first, then we'll have to go in camera for the in-camera discussion.
This one isn't that.
No, it's the next one on the agenda.
Are we skipping that then?
No, we're coming back to it in camera.
We're going to
What
come
one are we
back to
on
the
now?
first
We
one.
were
in
on
camera.
25. What are we on now?
We're on 24. Then we'll go on camera for 23. Okay. So, Tom, what's the question, Chris?
Was it tendered to obtain the services of Jazz Solar?
No.
And what was the amount?
To them, their specific amount, I don't have that brief, no, but the total envelope of the project is 125.
Yeah. And so ballpark, how much was the contractor going to be received?
Probably the majority of that. I can get that number.
So for the new council, I was inundated for 2 years by community members, contractors, all of it warranted to say, there's a lack of tendering going on here at this table. And an organization of this size should have tendering processes in place so that there's no allegations of improprieties, et cetera, et cetera. And once again, I'm asking why the tendering is not taking place.
For this specific project,
In general,
for this one, the CAO worked directly with Jazz Solar, and Jazz Solar,
I'm sorry, who?
Jazz Solar was
No,
the one
who
that
worked?
the former CAO.
Okay, well,
And
the former CEO is
application
not
was-
here.
The
Listen to what-
application was done
Just hold on.
by Jazz on the
Listen-
basis that they would get the contract. But we don't have to proceed if council doesn't want to.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
We don't have to proceed if council doesn't want to.
No, I didn't ask about not proceeding. I asked why this organization, with our sophistication, has gotten away from formal tendering.
I can't answer that for this one. I
And-
wasn't involved with getting the
I-
And the former
thought-
CAO, I asked him many times, and all we got was blank answers. And to our community contractors and community members, I think it's totally unfair to just ignore them over and over again when they keep bringing it to our attention about the lack of tendering, competitive tendering, because you know what happens when you don't tender. All kinds of allegations come forward, and I'm not going to defend it. And as leadership, I find it appalling that in this day and age, we're sitting here saying, no tender, no tender. Like,
Okay.
I'm not going to discuss this anymore, Chief, when it comes to these big tender items, ticket items.
Okay, so anyway, I think the council has given an issue, an answer to the question, and I guess these arrangements were put in place by the former CEO, is what I understood.
For this project, yes.
So you were given an answer. There's not much we can do about it. It's done. Unless we go back and, if we go back and tender it now, then does this frustrate the funding from IESO?
Yes.
Or it does?
We can ask permission though to further delay it.
But we're not saying they no longer would have the project.
So
We would be telling the IESO that MBQ doesn't want to move forward with Jazz Solar and that we'd be requesting time to an RFP. We wouldn't be doing a
are
tender
there
for
other
it. We'd be
qualified, are
requesting
there other
proposals.
qualified, Tom, is there other qualified people in the area that can do this work?
On territory, not that I'm aware of, but doesn't mean, there could be somebody out there that I'm not aware of.
And Jazz Solar's on the reserve?
No.
So what's the direction of council then? Do you want it tendered? If so, Tom will
We'd be
have to
going,
go
it wouldn't be a tender, we'd be issuing a request for proposals.
to request proposals. And so just educate the council, what limit is a request for proposals, and then what limit requires the tendering under our policy? I just forget what it is.
For tendering, it would be 5,000, I think, under the current policy. And then multiple quotes after 1,500, I think, is underneath the finance policy.
Okay, if we could have a copy of the tender policy brought to council, we're going to have these kinds of discussion. So
There's
we
not a
have-
tender policy, there's a blurb under the finance policy.
Okay, we
that
used
would
to have a
speak to it.
tender policy. Is that not in effect anymore?
I've never been aware of a tender policy for MBQ. There's a section in the finance policy that speaks to tenders and contracts.
I thought there was one way back when too, like way back when.
We've always had policies in place in regard to tendering requests for services. Okay, so then maybe we should have some orientation for our staff and directors and so that everybody understands we have policies in place regarding this. Okay, I'm not talking to the last CEO. He's not here, and that's half the reason we're in this pickle. And I'll go on the record
Okay,
saying that.
Let's not be criticizing former staff. They're not here. So let's deal with what we have to do moving forward. So I guess what is it council wants done? Do you want this retendered? And if so, Tom needs to notify ISO to see that's possible. If it frustrates the project and there are deadlines that we have to meet that are critical to us performing what we're supposed to do,
We don't have to do the project at all either. That is an option for council.
And Chief,
But you've been approved for this funding already. Is there a time frame of when it was supposed to be used? The 125 to cover the costs for education and capacity building?
We've already technically passed the original deadline, so we weren't, I wasn't aware of this project, so when we received the approval, we started the review process on it to see if it was something that we could still move forward with. And we got a deadline extension from IESO, so they're now waiting to issue the funding agreement.
So it's already behind. It needs to get going. It's already approved. I feel like we shouldn't waste this funding opportunity. And if there's people that this can benefit, overall, it's going to benefit the community. So
And
I
so-
would be okay with moving forward with
so
it.
we contracted, you said with Jazz Solar, that's what,
We will be, yes.
and, okay, and what is it, so what's the scope of the work? When does it have to be completed by, under the tender, the
For
agreement?
this phase, I believe it's this year.
In 2024?
Mhm.
Or until March 2025,
This fiscal.
this
March.
fiscal year? I don't know how much work is involved or how long it will take. Do they have a work plan?
Yep. And this was all shared with council too before we accepted it. It's by email, unfortunately, with the timelines, but
Chris?
Chief, we seem to be mixing words here. It's not a matter of if you don't want to do the project, don't do it. The issue is a lack of professional
And we
tendering, a
get-
lack of adherence to
Yeah,
policies.
the council has heard that, they understand that, and the question was asked, do you want it tendered?
I
If so,
find
we-
it mind-boggling we're having this discussion that we should have to tender things up to $100,000. We've had finance policies in
Okay,
place for
well,
half
what
a
do you want-
century, and now we're just
Okay,
throwing it out
what,
the window.
but I guess going forward, to correct this problem, what do you want done about it?
Going forward, these
You
major
want this
projects should adhere to our tendering and finance policy that have been in place
Okay.
for time immemorable.
But going forward with, does that include this one? Do you want this project tendered? Erin has said the money's in place to get on with the work. She'd prefer to get on with it. Do you want it, if you want it tendered, we need a motion to direct what the staff are to do.
And Chris, that will be on my agenda with the directors around the tendering process, that, and we will pull out policies to see where it's at, but certainly in future, we would need to address that.
Yeah.
Linda?
Sorry, Linda.
So, I agree with Aaron, why we can't fix what's already been done. Yeah, we can fix that policy, but for right now, we won't want to lose that funding.
Okay, right
So let's
now.
accept that funding, let's sit down and fix those policies.
Right now, we have not
From
signed
this
it.
day forward, we need
Okay.
to tender.
Okay, but what I'm saying, I thought I heard, is there a contract signed with Jazz Solar? So if you want to tender it, you can. Do you want to tender it, or have Thomas suggested it would be a request for proposals?
Which would
it
delay
would
it
be a request for
further.
proposals because this isn't a construction contract. So we'd be
It's
looking
for-
for fee proposals from engineering firms, solar firms, other qualified firms.
Be
And-
prepared, though, we are jeopardizing losing this funding.
And so what's the time frame with the administrative delay that would be created with slowing it down and going through that process?
About 2 months.
How much?
About 2 months.
2 months. So we would create, and would that jeopardize finishing the project this fiscal year?
Potentially, yeah.
So there's two schools of opinion here. One said, do you want it? If you want it tendered, I want a motion.
I say let's just go on with it.
Or a motion to proceed and accept the fact that it wasn't tendered, and because there are critical deadlines that we have to meet, we will proceed.
We'll fix that after.
Well, and that's just it. It's not our money going out to do it. It's this Jazz Solar requested the funding to do this project. I don't see why we need to hold them up. They worked on getting the money. We're not contributing anything to it. They're doing.
I'm just, I'm putting a motion on the floor that these projects should be tendered as per TMC finance policies.
Okay.
Not just this one, but all of them. Again, it's mind-boggling that we're having this discussion. I cannot go against our tendering policies. our
Okay,
finance
so
policies.
then there's a motion on the floor to have projects tendered that are not yet awarded. Is there a seconder of that motion?
Are we ignoring the first thing that was on the table?
Well, it's not
What
yet
are we
awarded.
doing with this?
It's not yet awarded.
So.
It's a
so
future project.
You're suggesting the motion to tender this.
Unless
And all others. We already have a policy in place. What you're doing, you're going right against your own
to
policy.
comply with the policy.
This is something that your council put in place
No.
previously.
Yeah, they put it in place 60, 70 years ago, these
Not that,
policies.
not
No,
the
just
policy,
this
this
project.
This project.
So to me,
Okay.
I feel like we're just moving forward with something that council had already approved. It was created by the CAO, hopefully with the benefit of the community. These staff members are going to be trained. And ultimately, that's going to benefit the community. There's no money lost with MBQ. Moving forward, I 100% agree that we tender large items. This, in my opinion, is already done, and
Okay.
there's money there to go. So I motion to accept this as
Okay,
is
but
and
we
move
gotta,
forward.
we gotta deal with one motion at a time. Can you call up the motion that council passed regarding this project? If it came to council, there would be a motion.
There's a recommendation to reaffirm TMC approval by email to participate in the IESO Indigenous Energy Projects program.
So it's approved by email.
By email.
Yeah. So when we approve things, chief, we approve them, approval in principle, expecting that we're abiding by the policy. We don't have to ask every single motion, is this circumventing our own policies? I shouldn't have to ask that question
But when
every
when we
motion.
do things loosey-goosey, and some it's by email, and some it's over the phone, and some it's winking at somebody, and somebody it's putting it on the agenda, the proper process is to put things on the agenda. If there's an emergency council meeting needed, we can create a Zoom call. We can record minutes. That way we have approval. We don't have to search emails and search minutes. It's all in the minutes. So there doesn't look like there's any minute number for that by the sounds of it. There's just this email responses to go ahead with it. So therefore the staff if they hear from the majority of council to say, go ahead with it, that is what they do.
And chief, I would like my motion to be in the public minutes.
And this is a public meeting, so it will be.
Okay, because I thought we went in camera.
No, we're not in camera yet. The next 23 is in camera. So it's been moved and seconded, all future projects must follow the tender policy, or the policy in our funding finance policy, and put it on the agenda for next week so
Who moved and
that
seconded that?
so that the council will know what it is. So anyway, is there a second for Chris's motion? For Curtis? All future projects must conform to the tendering processes required by an MBQ's finance policy.
We didn't create this. Previous councils did. So let's.
But there
let's
is a
move
pol-
forward.
There is a policy.
We'll fix the policies.
Maybe the policy doesn't need fixing. What it just needs is to ensure that it's
be
compliant.
used.
Put them in place, but that's to the staff to do that.
But there can be situations where funding is critical and quick decisions are
It
needed.
is, it is.
So sometimes you may not have the luxury because there are funding deadlines to get your applications in, and sometimes you have to make it work quicker than what our policy prescribes. So there can be situations like that. So anyway, it's been moved by Chris. Is there a seconder? It's seconded by Curtis. Is anybody opposed to the motion? In future, this is how we're going to operate to ensure compliance with our funding policy, finance policy. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried. So I guess what I'm hearing from council is that because this is already in place, it's been responded to by an email response to go ahead with this. The CAS put this arrangement in place. It's not yet contracted. There's no signed contract in place, but the council believes because this work is important to get completed this fiscal year to move ahead as planned. So they'll have a motion to that effect.
We did. It was Aaron and myself.
Aaron and Linda to move ahead. Is there anybody opposed?
Opposed, Chief.
Chris Miracle opposed. Want to record the reason?
Yeah, I'm going to year 3 raising this issue about the lack of adherence to policy and a lack of a lot of the staff not knowing about policy or not following policy, Chief.
That is up to the chief administrative officer to ensure that the policies are complied with and that the training
Yeah.
that needs to be done by staff, but I'm sure that the staff that have been here a long time know what that policy is already. Are you familiar with it, Tom?
Mm-hmm.
But if the director, their directors or their CAO directs them to do something different, they have to follow that direction.
Well, I would recommend in the future, Chief, that staff send a letter to council if a CAO is trying to tell them to override and disregard policy.
To be clear, I was never given direction to override the policy. I wasn't aware of the project until we got the approval.
So Tom was unaware of it.
So it was, it seemed like it was all the CEOs.
And we don't know the circumstances
who else was
surrounding it.
involved
We
with it.
can't
I know I
speak to
wasn't.
it. We don't know the circumstances of the situation surrounding the decision and why it was taken. So we just can't speak to that right now, Chris.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and in fairness to you, Sherry, I have had community member after contractor come here, and it's just this, and director
Yeah.
saying, we don't know, we had a finance policy, we didn't know we had a tendering policy, like, that's unacceptable for me to, in this day and
Yeah.
age, to have a director say, I didn't know we had a tendering policy, but then the next council, I got an item in front of me, and there's 4 or 5 items, they went through the tendering policy. The next council, there's no tender. And I don't think it would take 2 months to do a quick RFP.
Well,
Yeah, I
30
understand.
days
We
to be out to the RFP, 2 weeks to create it and 2 weeks to review it, Chris.
Okay.
Well, should have been done in the first place.
Agreed.
Okay. So anyway,
Agreed. It wasn't me that put it
okay,
out.
we can quibble about this till the cows come home. What is done is done. We have to move on. Future projects will comply with the policy, with the finance tendering policy. That is Sherry's job and Angela's job to ensure compliance.
Yep.
And so maybe we need to put another check box on our council seat. Was it tendered, yes or no? Then that way we don't have to have these kinds of discussions. They just check off the box.
Generally, they come to council anyway, once they're tendered, right? Or you put out an RFP, then it comes to council and
And then council passes a motion to accept it. But in future, if you're answering emails, keep track of your emails because it's a lot to remember.
Yeah.
We get 400 or 500 emails a day, and it's hard to remember that level of detail. So IESO Indigenous Energy Program Funding Agreement, MBQ has been approved for $200,000 by the Independent Electricity Systems Operator to complete a pilot project installing 2 solar systems to help offset costs of band-owned buildings. Included in the funding, development of a business plan for energy as service EAAS business model upon completion of the project to take 15 months, 6 to install, 9 months to monitor and determine viability of pursuing EAS option, at which time MB can opt to move forward with the energy company business model or something else or decline. Can you tell us what EAS EAAS is,
Energy as a service.
pardon me?
Energy as a service.
Okay. So we've got funding for this project. It's really going to install 2 solar systems to help offset energy costs.
It's part of the pilot so that you can show that energy as a service would be a viable option for the community. We may get through the actual feasibility study and realize that this isn't for us, but at the end of it, we'll end up with 2 solar installations.
Chief, what item are you on? What number?
25.
Did we do 23?
No,
Remember, we're gonna
what
do
I'm
that
going
in
to do,
camera.
while I chair the meeting, I'm going to finish all of the things that are in public first,
Okay.
because it's housing related, while Tom is here. And then we can go in, we'll just go into private and we'll deal with it then. Then Tom doesn't have to come back and forth.
Can I just make a point? Here.
Go ahead.
On February 15th at 10:11 a.m., Chris Merkel said, "Looks good. I'd like to attend one of the conferences." And this is all in relation to the IESO funding and have all the programs listed that he agreed with at the same time as everybody else.
Yeah, I don't believe the previous council was told,
That
or,
was February 13th.
no,
15th.
I understand that. I understand we give approval in principle, but then you start peeling back the layers, and then that's when you find out that some things don't jive. I was not aware of Jazz being sole sourced. There's a big difference between saying I support an initiative, and then a month later finding out, oh, and by the way, we're sole sourcing people. 2 different issues altogether.
Again, there could be an explanation for it. I don't know what the explanation is because it's all done at the administrative level, and the former administrator is not here to answer. So I don't want to guess. There may be a valid reason for it. I don't know. And I know, they were working through COVID. There were people working from home. There weren't staff here. There could have been, that could contribute to some of the issue too. So anyway, the what's in before you now is item number, this $200,000 this council approved.
I approve.
Moved by Aaron. Is there a seconder?
I just have a question, Chief. With the solar, is this a new project, Tom? Or is that what's happening down at the airport?
This would be new.
Oh, brand
So,
new?
yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
part of the pilot project will be to install 2 solar installs and then to monitor them over the course of the pilot project.
And where are they proposing to do this? What buildings?
So we're going to combine it with tiny home project that we're doing on North Street, and that way we can use the money for 2 of these installs to cover off 2 of the.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And
And
then
it's
that
on
way,
North-
rather than only having 2 on the pilot project that we'd be monitoring, we could monitor 12.
Nice.
And
And
the
so this
energy
monitoring-
team is the same team as in the previous one, eh?
Yeah.
Good
And
use
so
of
the
resources.
monitoring, is that done by Jamie, or who does the monitoring to see if this works the way it's intended?
Would be in combination with Jazz and our energy, our community energy champion, which is
That would be
Jamie.
Jamie, right? Okay, the new hire.
The install will be done by the energy team.
So is council aware that Jamie Brandt has been brought on as our new energy champion? Okay. Is council aware of that?
No.
Well, you're aware now.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's who he'll be monitoring. Maybe you could just inform the council the kind of work that he'll be doing just for information sharing.
So it's a 3-year term contract that is funded through the IESO. He will look at various projects like these 2 here. The other one that we'll be talking about, there'll be some community outreach and education as part of it. We'll be looking at redoing our community energy plan. But really anything that would have to do with sustainable energy, he's going to take the lead on hopefully converting the busing fleet to the battery or electric.
Okay, so that gives you some idea what kind of work he'll be doing here. And so now there have been energy, the community energy plan meetings at the community center before when Dan Brandt was here. Were they well attended and did?
For the most part, yes. Compared to like what we normally get out, I
And
would
so
say
what,
there are probably about
so I
10 to
guess
15.
after community members went to the meeting and heard the information, was there anything done with that information in the community?
So follow-up would have been working towards converting over to LED where we could find funding, doing natural gas connections.
And there was energy efficiency
Initially, at that
appliances.
time, we were looking at a lot of solar installs as far as the FIP programs, but the FIP programs were disbanded after Doug Ford came into
Yeah,
power.
but there was also the energy efficient appliances too that people could get. Was that part of that, that whole energy?
No,
savings?
but it was done by the same group.
Yeah.
So at that time, we had,
Question on that. So you saying that what happened with that energy group, is that when we got all those fridges and stoves and air conditioners? Tom, do you know, it'll probably be off topic, I'm sorry if it is, but with those appliances, was that a 5-year maintenance package with those? Because what I'm hearing from community members is those stuff that they got are starting to break down and they don't know who to call, and they call people and nobody's getting back to them. So who do we direct them to?
Well, there should be, normally when you buy an appliance, there's usually information about the warranty. That's what comes with the appliance.
everything would have been attached to the fridge.
It would be
Like,
attached
no
to the
different than going
appliance.
and buying the fridge. The
But if they
packages are,
lost, they could go to they were old, somebody else installed it. What direction can I give a community member to find that information is what I'm asking.
I can try to track down, I don't think that there'd be any warranty attached. anymore.
Usually
They said it was
warranties are,
supposed to be 5 years. Are we over the 5?
I believe so.
Oh, okay. Because one woman said she didn't think it was over 5 years yet.
Can't remember.
okay, that's a question for
Yeah, I
ISO.
heard it was close, but it wasn't over the 5. I
We
heard
could-
that this might be
we
the
can
5th
check.
year.
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
So that's why they asked me to find out.
We can check.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that.
You might have to give Tom whose fridge it was, because I'm sure they kept track of when they made those deliveries.
Well,
They
there's,
just look in their records.
I'll give them a list because there's air conditioners, fridges, and freezers.
Okay, anyway, give Tom the list, then he can follow up on it. Okay. Thank you. So now back to what we're talking about, the $200,000. Are you moving, Aaron, to accept this funding?
Yes.
And I'm second, Chief.
Linda? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing done, the motion is carried. Now, so we'll make good use of Tom's time. The MEQ has been working on detailed design for new housing development located at Fern Branch Phase 3, Sadie's Lane, Phase 2, and Beach Road. Beach Road is currently under review based on objections from adjacent property owners. TMC to reaffirm their approval for these locations. Is that excluding Beach Road or including Beach Road? Tom, Chris?
Could we defer this to full council? Councillor Christian, he has some concerns with some of the development. I don't want to speak out of school on his behalf.
Okay, it's been moved. Motion to defer it to full council. Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Is there anybody opposed to deferring this item to full council? What's the impact of this deferring it? None?
Nothing. This was a result of the request you made with the meeting between myself and council.
Okay, now you're applying to CMHC for some funding. Is any of that we have to identify the location, right? In the CMHC application where we're going to build these houses?
Nope,
No?
not for these. North Street's already started construction.
Okay,
We've
so you
already
don't have to
approved that.
identify where they're being built, the lot and concession number?
They're on North Street, which you've already approved the contract.
Okay.
We're currently building it.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to defer it. Chris and Linda, is there a second? Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. So put it on the next agenda. North Street Housing Development Phase 2. The conceptual plan for North Street Development Phase 2 is ready for community engagement. approve and accept the plan for phase 2 and revised project budget one totaling $1,681,554. Does council approve? Is there a motion to approve?
This is for the
The
second phase of
the
the,
conceptual plan for North Street Development Phase 2 is ready for community engagement. So what is the community engagement process?
So we'll post it on the website that will allow people to submit comments for 30 days through the portal. And then we'll also have an open house at the community center.
Okay, so that's community engagement. So this is the conceptual plan to do the community engagement piece, right?
This is the plan that we're going to present to the community. Yep.
So if we're going to have a community engagement, you need to present them with something. This is what it is. Ogwari,
I'll move.
moved by Ogwari,
A second.
And then the other part of the recommendation, though, is the approval of the
okay.
additional costs.
So Chris has the housing portfolio. He should be actually moving these motions, but it's okay for council to do it as well.
That was more of an infrastructure issue, Chief, but I'm okay. I support the motion.
Okay, you're, is it
Thank you,
anyone
Chris.
opposed?
oh, shoot.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none?
There's a second part.
It's an infrastructure related project. It's also a housing related project, but not that I'm aware of.
There's there's a second piece to this, Chief, and it's to the budget, the revised budget.
Yeah, and to approve the budget of $1,681,554. Where does that money come from?
The housing revenue. Some of it from the housing revenue, sorry. 640,000 is from ESC.
That's pertaining to the infrastructure costs,
Mhm.
like water, sewer, roads. Okay.
And we're going to lobby for that too.
It's included in that letter that we did.
Yeah.
Okay. So that it's to approve the community engagement and the budget, 1.6 million. Moved by Aguari and seconded by Linda. Is there anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, the LOMU 2024 Fisheries Program, and that's the Lake Ontario, what is that, Memorandum of Understanding, I presume? Seeking a date and time in the week of March 25th for MBQ to meet with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, Lake Ontario Management Unit, to discuss their 2024 fisheries programs in Lake Ontario, Bay of Quinte, and the St. Lawrence River. They're part of the now standard annual consultation carried out by the Lake Ontario Management Unit.
Thanks,
Program overview attached.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Tom, we need you to stay for that in camera item.
Yeah, he's coming back for that.
Okay. Additionally, during the LOUM meeting, seeking signature on the attached standard authorization letter to acknowledge the consultation and our allowance of the program, I can adjust the date and time as meeting so it can be signed if comfortable with that same day. Provide available dates and times in March for LOUM to be meeting. Additionally, sign the authorization letter if comfortable the same day as the Lake Ontario Management Memorandum of Understanding with MBQ meeting pending my adjustment of the date. Does council agree to send this letter to Andy Todd with the Lake Ontario Management Unit from the Ministry of Northern Development, Mines and Natural Resources and Forestry in Picton?
Yes.
And
With
I would say
council?
if we can tack it on to one of the council meetings. The end of March is pretty busy for me, so I won't be able to attend.
Ooh, I think we're not here for a good chunk.
This week.
At the end? No.
I would say it's going to have to go into the April. Could we tack it in as part of the April meeting on the regular agenda? It usually takes about a half an hour.
I have time on this week if anybody else does.
Well, I'm going with the chief to Toronto.
Oh, when
I
do
leave
you guys-
tonight.
And you're back.
Would Chris
Thursday
be able to
afternoon.
attend this one? Because this would fall in his area, right?
Well, that's it. We gotta, nobody knows Chris's schedule, so.
Yeah.
It's really about the fish stock and the Bay of Quinte, the health and the numbers and all that sort of thing.
But just Megan wants a meeting with us? Oh, with the M&R. Oh, she doesn't need us then. We're good.
So on the
So
25th,
she
there's
doesn't need
training.
us then? Oh,
Okay, so they usually present their report on the status of the fishery in Lake Ontario, the Bay of Quinte. So on the 25th, you have the lateral violence training at the fire hall, the council. You have local business on the 26th,
oh, but we don't have local business because they
9:30.
can't.
There's it,
Can we replace that with the M&R?
we could.
I'm
9:30
available.
a.m.?
26th, 10:30.
If they're available, I'm available.
When the earliest you want. Simple, leave it.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
If we're done at noon, then I'm happy.
So let's identify, so then part of it will be to sign the letter and identify March 26th.
For 9:30.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
At 9?
I'm good with, what? Was that so early?
I would say 9:30, get them a chance to get here.
9:30.
9:30?
9:30? Is that the mover and seconder agreeable to, we need a mover and seconder.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Aaron and Curtis? Anyone opposed? So March the 26th, we'll meet with Andy Todd from the Ministry of Natural Resources to discuss the status of the Lake Ontario Bay of Quinte fishery. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The letter to the gas station operators, this is basically, it's a follow-up. This is to the natural gas line, there's a letter here.
That's in private though, right?
This should be in private because it's advice from our legal counsel. That needs to be in private.
I didn't have anything in my folder on that one. Okay. Okay.
The letters to the gas station, that's just a 6-month extension under TSSA, right?
And the other one that has to go in private is number 23.
I think 26 sheet. It's the same project, I think. Just different director.
That was deferred.
So,
26 was the motion to defer.
so I'm sorry, Chief, not 26, the add-on item. The add-on that Cecil add-on there.
Yeah,
I think
they're-
it ties into 23.
Yeah, they both have to go in private. They're in the in private agenda already.
Okay.
Is add-ons. Okay. So 23 on the public agenda. Will
Is that it for public? Or did it? Schedule meeting?
Okay, so I guess we're ready to go in private then.
Your scheduled meeting, you have to reschedule April 23rd. I understand it should be already
April
23rd.
23rd.
I got it down as local business.
Me too.
But Chief won't be here? Is he not here on the 24th either?
I'm not going to be here on the 16th. I have a day surgery.
So do we need to move to 16th as well? That's regular business.
Yeah, the regular business, so we could have that on the Monday. No, wait, on the 17th. Actually, the 18th will work better.
But won't work for Linda.
Doesn't work for Linda.
Does 18 will work for you?
She got,
I can make it if I have to, but I really don't like to, because that's what the day I do my payrolls.
What about the 19th?
Oh, 19's great.
Could we have the regular council meeting on the 19th instead of the 16th?
Yes.
Okay, let's make a motion then to reschedule the 16th to the 19th. Moved by Aaron and seconded by Warren.
you said no good for the 23rd either, right?
I don't seem to have anything in there. April 23rd. Okay, then. It's the first, on the 24th is the First Nations Child Family Services negotiations in Toronto.
Oh, are you traveling then on the 23rd?
Switched it to the 23rd.
Maybe.
We don't know if anybody's scheduled yet, do we? Well, anyway, let's keep the 23rd. I'll just drive to Toronto after the local business meeting. I've done that many times. Sometimes I'm not getting there until 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, there may not. Okay, motion with camera.
Love that chip. I'll motion.
I'll second, Chief.
Moved by Aaron and seconded by Linda. It's 11:56.